If you're dealing with youth ministry, you're dealing with parents. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Youth Ministry Insider. My name's Ronald. I've been a youth pastor for 16 years, and I get it. Parents can be tough. Hold on. For emphasis. Tough. Dealing with parents in youth ministry can be extremely difficult. And when I first started out in youth ministry, I really thought that it was me versus the parents. I was trying to tell the parents why their kids should be in youth group, right? And I was explaining to them that whatever they had going on, I, as the youth pastor, knew better. I could help them. All they needed to do was bring their students to my youth ministry. And I will guess that some of you feel the same way as well. Here's the issue. I am now a parent. In fact, I've been a parent for a really long time. Long enough so that I actually had my own kids in the ministry. Now, they came with me to youth group because Dad was the youth pastor, so I didn't have a choice. But I understand now how busy teenagers can be for parents. Okay, you want to go out? There you go, puppy. Good girl. Yep, there you go. Dog begging at the door, you gotta let her out. I understand how busy it can be for parents in ministry. So let's think about this. Why are parents not involved? Remember, I'm doing a survey of youth pastors, and I'm just asking them, what are your biggest frustrations in youth ministry right now? And lots and lots of them are saying it's the fact that parents aren't involved in youth ministry. They have no buy-in. They're not around, or they don't see the value of youth ministry. And I guarantee you have probably heard a couple of these reasons that parents aren't around. So, number one, too busy. Parents have too much going on in their schedule. And again, now that I'm a parent of several teenagers, I get it. Routinely in our week, we have one night where we're not doing anything. Typically, it's Thursday. Every other night has something going on, whether it's kids doing robotics, or kids doing dance, or kids being with their friends, or social invitations, or church. There's not a lot of wiggle room in our week. We routinely, like I said, just have one, not Roman numerals, one night a week. Here's the deal. My kids aren't involved in sports. I love them. They are wonderful children. They're not athletic. They don't do athletic things. And that's fine. I love them. They're amazing and brilliant and smart and great. I'm glad that they're my kids. They're awesome. I have never had a kid who's on soccer or football or baseball, right? So I cannot imagine with my kids, with the obligations that they have right now being probably minimal compared to parents who have kids in sports or multiple kids in multiple sports, I can identify with them being really, really busy. And because they're busy, they're not involved. Here is another reason parents might not be involved in youth ministry. They don't see the value, not the valve. They don't see the value of youth ministry. This could be for a lot of different reasons. This could be that they had a really poor youth ministry experience themselves. Parents now in this age that we're dealing with have probably gone to church. If they're going to church right now, odds are they went to church as teenagers as well. And if they did not have a good or positive youth group experience, they're not going to value it for their own children. Or, hear me out, youth pastor, and I say this with love, they see youth ministry, the youth ministry that you were putting on, and they don't think it's valuable enough to give one of their one nights, their busy schedules, to come and participate in that ministry. We're going to talk about that. If you're really mad, it's okay. Share some mad emojis with me down in the comments. We can talk about it. That's fine. But one of the reasons that parents might not be involved is they don't see the value of it. It could be for other reasons as well. It could be that they are not Christians, not believers, don't care, right? Church is something their kids do and then just gets them out of the house. That's why they're not involved, because they personally have no buy-in as well. They don't see the value of youth ministry. Or they don't have a desire to disciple their kids. This could be for a couple different reasons, to break this one down. If they don't have a desire to disciple their kids, it might be that they don't know how, or they don't know that the Bible tells us that the parents are the main disciplers of their kids. It could also be that they truly believe with all their heart that when they bring their student or their teenager to youth group, that is discipling their kids. I know over my years of youth ministry that I had several conversations with lots of parents who told me, I am discipling my kids. I bring them to church. Period. And so this desire to disciple either isn't there, or they think they're already doing it just by bringing their kids to church. So, if this is why parents are not involved, what can we do as youth pastors to help parents see the value in youth ministry? We'll clean the board. We'll talk about it. Why do parents value youth group? It is an important question to ask. And if you have parents who value youth group, that is a gift to you, the youth pastor. So what are the different reasons that parents might value youth group? If we have looked at the reasons of why they don't value youth group, why do parents often value youth group? Now, this comes from both my own personal experience, from talking to parents over 16 years of ministry, and looking at other data that I have seen other youth pastors and really, really smart people share that are not me. So, number one that I have seen for why parents value youth group is their own experience. Now, I have seen this go two different ways with parents. Parents saying that their own experience is why they value youth group for their kids could mean two things predominantly. Number one, it can mean that they had a really positive youth group experience growing up. They loved youth group, and every time the doors were open, they were there. And so they want that for their kids. So therefore, they value youth group, and they bring their students to youth group because of their own experience in youth group. The other way I've seen this play out is actually very different than that. And so that parents had a terrible teenage, high school, middle school experience. Maybe they weren't believers in middle school and high school. Maybe they grew up in really negative circumstances. Maybe they were antagonistic to church and Jesus and everybody all throughout their teenage years. But they had a life-changing experience with Jesus, and now they don't want their kids to have the same experience they had. So you've got parents who both want to say, I had a great experience in youth group and I want my kid to be there, or I had an awful experience in my teenage years and I don't want that for my kids, so I bring them to youth group. Do you understand what I'm saying there? They value youth group because of their own experiences as teenagers. The next thing is that there are some parents who value youth group because they do desire to disciple. This is a thing that they care about deeply, and they desire to disciple their students. And this is different than the parents who just bring their kids to youth group and drop them off. These are parents who understand maybe like what we want as youth pastors to be, hey, I want to add to your discipling of your students. I want to augment your discipling experience. Add to it, increase it, make it better, make it different. Let us say the same things that you're saying at home, parent, but just make it come from somebody who you don't spend all day long with, right? So they do desire to disciple their kids, but they just use youth group as a part of their as a one tool in their toolbox instead of the entire toolbox. So parents want to disciple their kids using youth group as a part of that discipleship process, not the entire discipleship process. Another reason that parents will bring their kids to youth group are social benefits. Now, this is a thing. It happens, and it's important to talk about. There are some parents who will bring their kids to youth group because that's where their friends are, or they want their kids to have Christian friends, friends who believe in Jesus, who live like they do, who hold the same values. They bring their kids to youth group because of those social benefits, or because their kids are friends with people who already go to youth group. You've seen this as youth pastors before. That kid walks in and goes, "Nobody's here." The room already has students and volunteers and other people in it. But when that kid says, "Nobody's here," what they mean is, "None of my friends are here." And so parents who bring their kids to youth group because their kids have friends at youth group, that's a good reason for them to come. They want their students to have good Christian friends. They know they have Christian friends at youth group, so therefore they bring their students to youth group because of the social benefits that they have. There's also some things that are in play there as well, like parents just wanting to also have church friends, and men's ministry happens to meet at the same time as youth ministry, and so dad brings kids to youth group so he can be with his friends and learn about Jesus, and his kids can go be with their friends and learn about Jesus there too. There's a whole discussion about siloing in the church. We're not getting into that today. We're just talking about why do parents value youth group. And then Jesus juke person, I'm beating you to it. If you've already made this comment down below, that's fine. Just know that I was going to get here eventually anyway. They might value youth group just out of spiritual obedience. I don't mean that there is a verse in the Bible that says thou shalt bring your kid to youth group, all right? That's not there. I mean it's a parent who values coming to church, being a part of a group of believers, and a part of their church experience is their church has a youth group. So therefore, they're going to bring their kid so that they can go to youth group. There are parents who just say, "Hey, we go to church. That's a part of our family. That's our culture. That's what we do. We go to church." So youth pastor, what do you do then? You've got some parents who don't value youth group and other parents who do value youth group, and it could seem like they're at war with each other. Here's what I want you to see from these two things and what I've learned in my experience as a youth pastor is that these things are actually really, really connected, and you can use them to your advantage to help get parents more involved in the youth ministry because you're explaining what those benefits are. Let's talk about that here on this next one. So here's the question. How do I get parents involved? And by involved, I mean involved in all cases. More involved in the spiritual discipline and discipling of their kids, more involved in youth group as a whole, more involved in church? What does that look like? And hey, I'm a youth pastor and I want my parents to be more involved in what's going on in the youth ministry. What do I do? How do I get parents more involved? And so here's a couple things that I think will be extremely beneficial to you as a youth pastor if you start taking these and begin thinking about how you can work them into what you're already doing to minister to students. And so number one is to show or explain their role to them. Show or explain a parent's role to them. Make them understand that they are the primary disciplers. That is their job as parents of these teenagers to be the ones who are the primary discipler of their kids. Now, where should this happen? When should this happen? Okay, as a church, it would be awesome if this didn't happen in the youth ministry, but this actually started in kids ministry. If this was something that could get started in the kids ministry, and then you as a youth pastor just continue on with that, that would be amazing. If you also have a kids ministry in your church, finding ways to impress upon parents whose kids are in that kids ministry, who they will eventually go from the kids ministry to the youth ministry, you want them to just continue to follow the path they've already been on. They understand that they're the primary disciplers because it's been told to them since their students were young little babies, and they've known that this whole time. Now that they're in youth ministry, they're just discipling them differently. Not in a bad way, it's just that kids are different than youth. You know this because you're a youth pastor, not a kids minister. God bless kids pastors. I could never. Okay, puppy, you can come back in. Yes, good girl. All right. So showing and explaining roles to parents is one way that you get a chance to get parents involved. Just by showing them, this is where the Bible says that you are the primary disciplers of your kids. This is what it might look like to be the discipler of your kid. How do you explain that? We'll get there in a second. But making sure that you take every opportunity you can to show and explain their role to the parents who are part of your ministry or connected to your ministry in any way possible, shape, or form. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Okay, now number two, second thing. You want to highlight the benefits. You want to highlight the benefits of youth ministry. Let's write that down. Of youth ministry. All right, so this is a reality. Parents need to know that if they're going to invest their time into something, it has to be valuable to them. Again, Jesus Juke George, I know that you're there and probably down in the comments already. I understand the value is because we're told to go to church. Like I get that. I'm a youth pastor. That's my whole thing. Not every parent either understands, believes in the same way, or practically will do the same thing that you think is attending church. So, as much as you can, you have to highlight the benefits of youth ministry. And if the only thing you can highlight as a benefit of youth ministry is students come to youth ministry, you're going to fall flat and you're not going to convince that exhausted, busy, overworked parent that they need to get their kid to youth group. You have to actually show them benefits. like a couple of the things that we talked about. There are social benefits to coming to youth ministry. You can remind parents, hey, if you want your kids to have good influences on their life, you should bring them to youth ministry because we have volunteers, hopefully. We have students who also love Jesus who can be friends with your students. And don't you want your kids to have good, godly, Christian friends? Well, where can you find those? Hopefully, a youth group, unless your youth group is a whole bunch of heathens. And then maybe the social part is a little harder to explain to parents, but maybe you can still get there. All right, so if it's not social, maybe you can really get a parent to understand the spiritual benefits of coming to youth group, like you actually helping students understand their faith. More than just you get up and you teach students about Jesus, which is crazy important. Don't misunderstand me. However, you are showing students how to live a spiritual life right now, how to engage in Scripture, how to live as Christians, giving them action points that you can then follow up on and help guide and direct them and mentor them in the faith. If you get up in youth group, give a youth ministry talk, and then run to your next assignment or the next thing and don't ever engage in the discipleship of the teenagers that are involved in your youth ministry, parents are not going to see the spiritual benefit of them bringing their kids to youth group or them being involved. It's tough. It's true. Maybe this is a moment for you as youth pastor to think, how am I helping to show parents that youth group is beneficial beyond having an extra kid show up at youth group? Then next, you've got some parents who are just excited about leadership. They just want their kids to have service opportunities. They want their kids to grow. They want their kids to be leaders in the world, and so leaders in the youth group. Here's a wild thing. You as a youth pastor, think about this. You've got students who are really smart and they are involved in things at school that really smart kids get to be involved in, like clubs and academia and scholarships and other things like that. You've got kids who are really athletic and they get to be involved in really athletic kid things at school. You've got kids who do drama. You've got kids who do chess club and all these other things, that the opportunities that are given to them at school, extracurricular, sports, all these types of things. What opportunities do your students have for leadership or service in the youth group? If the only opportunities they have in youth group are to show up to youth group, a parent is not going to be involved because they're not going to see the benefit of their student coming. Because they might just say, my kid just shows up, sits there, and then leaves. Like, what's the benefit for me or my kid when that's the reality of my kid going to youth group? When I was in charge of middle school ministry at my previous church for the last 10 years, I made a shift from I do everything to students do as much as possible, so that we had students doing every job I could possibly give them. They read the announcements, they led the games, they played in the band, they ran the tech in the back, they were the greeters who greeted everyone who came in the door, they were the ones who set up and tore down. I had adults who were around and doing things as well, but the ministry wasn't only run by adults. The ministry didn't happen if students didn't show up. And I had a parent come to me and watch the chaos of middle school students leading middle school students. And he just had this look on his face as he looked around the room and was like, Ronald, you're running a leadership lab here. And I was, because I was giving students an opportunity to serve outside of just coming to youth group, sitting down, and participating. And if your parents see that you give their kids an opportunity to serve or lead, especially the kids who don't fit into athletic or smart or dramatic or whatever categories, but at church they can do something, those parents are going to be involved because they see the value that you give to their student at youth group. And then last, and I understand that you might not like this, but if you do like this, that is okay too. Youth ministry absolutely can be fun. In fact, it should be fun. Doug Field says you don't laugh with your enemies, you laugh with your friends. So youth ministry should be fun for students. What does that look like? Figure out ways to make youth ministry fun. It's fine if your culture is to have a 45-minute youth ministry talk. That's okay. But don't think you're more spiritual than the youth pastor who has a 20-minute youth ministry talk and gets the main point out and then plays 20 minutes of games that help students understand and unpack the lesson that they've got. If you are boring kids in your youth ministry, it's not going to be fun. And their parents will only hear from their students, youth group was boring. I don't want to go back. I understand. It's hard to entertain students. It's hard to let students have fun. But it is so vital that they enjoy their experience at youth group, because if they enjoy it, they come back. And if they come back, they're going to ask their parents to get them. And if they're asking their parents to constantly bring them to youth group, their parents are going to get involved because their students are having fun. I'm a little fired up about this, and I hope you are too. So highlight the benefits of youth ministry to your parents. There are social benefits, there are leadership benefits, there are fun benefits, and absolutely there are spiritual benefits to having students come to youth group. Okay, so how? How do I get parents involved? Okay, you show and explain their role, you highlight the benefits of the youth ministry. How do you do these two things? What does that look like? I have a few suggestions for you that might help. All right, if you have downloaded my emergency guide to surviving youth ministry, down below in the comments, you'll see some of these things. These are things that I just say are good to do for youth ministry. And if you haven't yet, please go down and below, download the emergency guide to surviving youth ministry, implement some of these things, test them out, see if they work for your context, and maybe you can find that it'll get more parents involved because you're doing these things. How do I get more parents involved? Number one, a weekly email. Now, a weekly email is super important, but I want to add some caveats to this. Number one, I want it to be short. This is a cell phone, okay? It's a, hold on. There we go. This is a cell phone. Think about your weekly email as one thumb scroll. That's it. All right. So if your email here is a picture of your series of what you're teaching right now with main point, scripture, and then 3 questions that parents can ask their student, this is great. That's what they see when they open the email. And then they scroll once to the next thing, which is pictures of students and the announcements that you have coming up. And maybe really it's just one announcement with a button, right? You know, click here for the thing. Sign up for our next event. Download the student ministry resource. Why do I say do it this way? If you have an email that says to parents, this is what we taught today. This was a scripture. Here are 3 questions you can ask your student to follow up with that. You begin to subtly show them they are discipling their students. This is how you can disciple your students. And if you don't have anything else and you don't know what that looks like, start here. But also in this weekly email, you are putting pictures of their kids. We say this about students, it's true of parents too. If you put pictures of their kids in your email, they will look for them. Mind blowing, I know. But if your event is for the big D Now that's coming up, put a picture of kids involved in that D Now in the email and say, look at all the fun that your kid had last year. Sign them up for the D Now. Sign them up for the retreat or summer camp or what have you. You can switch out this picture of a student with a picture that, is the picture that's everywhere of your ministry or your event. But what I suggest you do is actually have like a picture of a student with a small little thumbnail that looks like the event that's coming up, right? The small little slide here. Again, parents love to see pictures of their kids. Send them pictures of their kids. Also, in your weekly email, this is huge. Send as youth group ends. This is huge for you and your youth ministry. Let me explain why. With parents not always having their kids from week to week to week to week, thinking of divorced families, thinking of crazy situations, or just thinking of busy things that are going to happen in youth ministry, if you schedule your email to send out at 8:30 and youth ministry ends at 8:30, a parent can get that email, see what you just talked about, and on the drive home, have a conversation with their kid. Because what they can do is they can say, how was youth group? And then the student goes, meh. Because the student's a student. But if a parent goes, hey, I just got this email that says you guys talked about prayer and you looked at what Jesus had to say about prayer. What do you think about that? What does it look like to ask for your daily bread? Have you asked for your daily bread today? Just the things that you need? This gives your students an opportunity, your parents an opportunity to talk to students as they are driving away from the event. Secondary bonus, that announcement that you made in youth group that the kid totally forgot to tell their parent about is also in the weekly email as they are driving home from youth group. Send a weekly email right after youth group ends that is one thumb scroll. I promise your parents will love you and thank you because it's a short email that lets them know what's going on in youth group, helps them understand that they're the primary disciples of their students, and also gives them an opportunity for students to do more youth ministry things. And it's good. You should do it. Send a weekly email. Okay, next thing that you need to do to get parents involved. I have so many markers and I want to use them. When you think of social media, you probably think of students. How can I post social media for my kids, for the students who are involved in your youth group? And that's good and that's fine. We should also think about what social media can I post that will help get parents involved. Not just a call for help. Not just, hey, we need somebody to cook food for our youth group retreat. Think of what social media you can give and offer your parents that will help them realize they're the disciples of their kids. Help them understand the benefits of youth ministry. Think about when you post pictures of your students in your social media feed, those pictures aren't just of your students, those are pictures of your parents' kids. And they love to see their kids. So post pictures of their kids in your social media feed. And then also think about this as well. In your social media, you can have just a quick video for parents. I can write things. Have a video for parents that talks about the series you're going to be talking about, or the retreat that's going to be happening, or the other thing that's going on with youth ministry that you want parents to know. And just say, hey, parents, da 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 da. When you start your video with, hey, parents, it lets your students know, okay, this isn't for me, but it lets your parents know this is something that is for me. And then think about where you're posting. A lot of student ministries right now use Instagram for youth, and then use Facebook for parents. think about what that might look like if your Instagram content was primarily directed at youth and your Facebook content was primarily directed at parents. Is that a strategy you could do? Is that a social media thing that you could be doing? Because with Facebook and, well, yeah, with Instagram too, you can provide links to things, like links to sign up for the retreat, or links to download a parent resource, or a link that links over to a video that you did on YouTube explaining the series or recapping the lesson, what have you. Think about social media, not just for your students, but also for your parents. Show off the benefits of youth group, show their kids off, and help them understand more about their roles and goals as youth ministry. When you think social media, don't just think about your students, think about your parents as well. All right, 2 more things, and then we're done. How do we get parents involved in ministry? All right, weekly email, super important. Social media, super important. Think about announcements that happen. Anytime you have an opportunity to get up in front of your church or places where your parents are, talk about how grateful you are for the parents in your youth ministry. Explain their role to them as the primary disciplers. Say this over and over and over again. Like, hey, we know parents are the primary disciplers of their kids. That's why we've developed this resource to help break down this new series that we're starting on Jonah next week. We're really excited for this new series on Jonah because what we're going to be talking about, do you see, like just saying, hey, parents, you're the primary disciplers of students. We've created this resource for you in order that you can have more conversations with your students at home. And hey, here's the announcement that I'm making. Hey, we know parents are the primary disciplers of their students, but we also want them to have a great experience on summer camp. And so parents, when we go to summer camp this week or this summer, we're going to be providing you with a way for you to pray for us while we're at summer camp, and something that you can use to talk to your kids once they get home and once they've learned everything that they've talked about there. And summer camp is going to be this June, and then making sure that when you're making announcements for students, you are involving parents, not just, can you come please be a warm body at our lock-in, but hey parents, you're the primary disciplers of our kids, and anytime you get a microphone, you remind them of that. That is a huge way to get parents involved, to just, again, highlight the benefits of youth ministry and remind parents of their roles when it's time to do any type of announcement up front in church. Think about what you can do to get parents involved more than just, will you please be a warm body at our church? All right, last one, super important. Having personal conversations with parents. Just you, as youth pastor. Just you, as youth pastor, having personal conversations with parents, one-on-one, whenever you get a chance to meet them, talk with them, connect with them, asking them, hey, how's it going at home? How is Johnny? He's a lot of fun at youth group, but I understand parenting is tough. Tell me what it's like to be Johnny's parent. And then explaining to them, oh, okay, well, that does sound tough. Hey, can I pray for you about that circumstance you're going on? I know that it must be really tough being a parent, especially of Johnny, because Johnny's a terror sometimes, but really fun in youth group. So let me pray for you about that. Youth pastor, if you have personal conversations with parents about their students, this is huge. Personal conversations with parents about their students, you will do wonders for you and your youth ministry. It will show them that you care. It will show them that they are important to you. And it will show them that they matter. This is the same deal that we do with students in our ministry. We want students to know we care. We want them to know they're important to us. We want them to know that they matter. Their parents need that same level of care from you as a youth pastor. And you might be thinking, isn't that like the senior pastor's job to like minister to the adults? I'm the youth pastor. Sure, but here's the deal. You want parents to be more involved. How can you get them more involved if they don't know you? If they have no personal connection to you as the youth pastor, then it's really hard for you to show them the benefits of youth ministry, to let them see that you're doing more than just drinking a Mountain Dew through a sock and sharing a verse of scripture. You are actually discipling their kids. You want to invite them along on that journey with you. And having personal conversations with parents one-on-one is huge. Think about how you can free up your calendar. And if this is tough, I understand. You've got to eat lunch, and lots of parents need to drink coffee. Those two things can be huge. Of just thinking, how can I get lunch with one parent this month? How can I go drink coffee with one parent this month and just have a personal conversation with them about their student, about their home life, about youth ministry in general? What could that look like? Don't even try to get something from the parent. Just let them know, I just want to get to know you better. I just want to understand what's happening in your house so I can better love on your kid. And I'm not even going to offer any judgment to you. I just want to listen. This is a powerful tool that you as a youth pastor can use to just minister to parents. Because when a parent feels cared for and ministered to by you, the youth pastor, you better believe they are going to do everything in their power to get their students involved in the youth ministry, because they know that you, the youth pastor, don't just care for their kids, but you care for them. It doesn't matter if you're young, it doesn't matter if you don't have any kids, it doesn't matter if you're single. You can pastor a parent no matter what season you are in. You can just let them know that you love them, you want to pray for them, you want to hear about the struggles that's going on in their homes, and as a youth pastor, you care deeply about them and their kid. Hey, if any of this is resonating with you, I am really glad. I am passionate about this stuff, and I hope you are as well. If you've got extra ideas that you'd love to share, put them down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you and to respond to you and share with you what I believe has worked for me in the past. And again, if you are looking for just any ideas, some ideas, download the Emergency Guide to Surviving Youth Ministry down below. It's got tons of ideas for you to use right now in your youth group so you can begin to tackle some of these problems. My name's Ronald. This is Youth Ministry Insider. Thanks so much for liking. If it is helpful to you, like, subscribe. It helps me out a lot. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon.